Hello and welcome to the Soccerlens Show. I'm Andy Brassell. Now we're going to be looking back over the influence of the derby in European football this weekend, starting in London, where Chelsea, the leaders, travelled to West Ham United in the Premier League and got away with a pretty decent draw in the end. I think they'd be happy enough with that, even though they played well enough to have won the game. They were certainly fortunate over the manner of their equaliser, a rather generous penalty award, which Frank Lampard converted at the third time of asking after all various kerfuffle over encroachment, so he did very well to hold his nerve there. But of course, with Arsenal also getting a draw, just a draw at West Ham earlier in the season, who of course are struggling against relegation, I think their problems are pretty well documented. Arsenal were 2-0 up a few months ago and were pegged back to 2-2. West Ham again, inspired by Alessandro Diamanti, the Italian, on that occasion. And it made me think of something that Arsene Wenger said a couple of years ago about it was always more difficult for a London club to win the Premier League because of the amount of London derbies involved. So I thought we'd have a bit of a look at this. Now, of course, since Wenger originally said this, the composition of the Premier League has changed a little bit, and there aren't so many London teams in it. They're up to 8 London Premiership teams at one point. Of course, Charlton and Crystal Palace and the now defunct Wimbledon are no longer part of the Premier League, as they all have been at various points over the last 10 or 12 years. So that's cut down the number a little. But I looked at the rest of the London derbies, apart from West Ham, which has been a difficult place for both Arsenal and Chelsea to go to. And in the other London derbies, both Chelsea and Arsenal, of course, over the last years, the leading London clubs in the Premier League, they've negotiated them quite well. Both of those teams have given Tottenham a hiding, and the only exception really to Arsenal's record was a 3-0 home defeat by Chelsea, which I think really shows more about the gap between those two sides than anything to do with any sort of derby concerns. Also, if you look back over the last 20 years of the English top flight, I think that there are 6 times that the title has been won by a London club, which is not a bad haul really. 4 times by Arsenal, twice by Chelsea. Of course, if we go back to the start of that 20-year period, that was the last time that Liverpool won the title. Of course, most of the other times the title's been won is by Manchester United. I don't think that's really indicative of any sort of north-south divide, just indicative of the fact that Manchester United have been the dominant team of the Premier League era. Now, of course, derby weekend in Lisbon as well, not a local derby, but the Clásico, the game between the two real giants of Portuguese football, Benfica and Porto, starting just a point apart. Benfica a point in front and ending it 4 in front of the reigning champions. A 1-0 win for Benfica, thanks to a fine finish by Javier Saviola, and a really deserved win for Benfica. And it's remarkable because Benfica's success has been built on a really wonderful midfield unit this year, with the Spanish defensive midfielder Javi Garcia anchoring things at the back, Ramirez, the Brazilian on the right, Di Maria, the promising young Argentinian winger on the left, and Pablo Aimar at the tip of the diamond. Now, both Di Maria, who was sent off last week, Olinense, and the injured Aimar could make it. So the fact that Benfica still bossed midfield, I think, was a testament to what a great squad and what a great work ethic they've got this season. Of course, Garcia was outstanding again. Ramirez was a constant pest to the Porto defence. Ojeda, who's had a bit of an up and down time since he arrived at Benfica, coming in, and he was having a profound influence on the game as well. But the way, especially in the first half, when Saviola scored that goal, the way not only that Benfica passed the ball, because it's obvious they've got a fair amount of talent in that squad under Jorge Jesus, but also the way they pressed and allowed Porto very little time on the ball. It's a sort of competition that Porto haven't been used to over the last couple of years. Of course, winning the title every year since Benfica last won it in 2005 under Giovanni Trapattoni. Now, that is the only time that Benfica have won the title since 1994, which is absolutely extraordinary for a club of their size. They always spend a lot of money each summer, and that's really not proved to be the successful recipe for them, of course, over the last few years. But this time, it's not just that there's talent in the squad, but there's a real togetherness under Jesus and a real belief that they can do something. So it'll be interesting to see how they go in the league and the Europa League for the rest of the season. They go into the winter break behind Braga just on goal difference. So we'll see what happens there. Of course, the other big story from the weekend, Barcelona. When we're looking back in this last episode of 2009 over the calendar year, Barcelona have raised 6 titles in that time now, topping it off with the World Club Championship and a 2-1 win in extra time over Estudiantes de La Plata. And of course, pretty symbolic that Lionel Messi scored the winning goal. But really, in looking back over Barcelona's year and all their achievements, I think everyone knows how important the likes of Xavi, Iniesta and of course Lionel Messi have been to them. But the player I'd really like to focus on for his efforts in 2009 is Gerard Piqué. I think he's been absolutely outstanding, still only 22 years old of course, and he was someone when he was brought back from Manchester United, having come through the cantera, the youth system at Barcelona, people were surprised and they thought it was something to do with a scaling down of Barcelona's ambition, that they were buying back Piqué on the cheap as someone who'd already trained under Barcelona methods. But the way he's developed and the rate at which he's developed has been absolutely extraordinary, leading to his teammates, as I mentioned elsewhere, nicknaming him Piquenbauer, to do with how comfortable he is on the ball and how poised he is. And he's the perfect complement for Carles Puyol on the other side of the defence. Of course, Puyol well into his 30s now, but still a consummate athlete. Piqué, not only a great tackler, not only a great header of the ball, he scored his fair share from set pieces as well, but so composed on the ball. And the way that Barcelona play this is really important. Not only that he can bring the ball out of defence in the same fashion as someone like, say, Rio Ferdinand for Manchester United when he's fitted and his best, but he's a tremendous range of passing as well. And this is really important as Barcelona bring the ball from back to front, then you can link with Xavi and Iniesta in the middle. So hats off to Piqué for his contribution this year. Well, anyway, as I say, that's it for 2009. We're taking a little break as the European season goes into its winter break, so we'll be back right at the start of January. Hope you have a great Christmas, and I hope you enjoy all the football that will be on in the Premier League. Of course, the Premier League keeps going while the rest of Europe shuts up shop and has a bit of Turkey. Also keep in touch with me on allornothingtv.net, my own video site, and you can hit me with any questions either here or on Twitter, twitter.com/Andy Brassell. Take care, Happy New Year.